This is Counterpoint, and I'm your host, Tanya Allen. While we all scrambled to adjust to the ever changing protocols with COVID 19, we may have forgotten to pose a critical question and, of course, demand an answer. From where did this virus originate? Certainly, in those very early days of 2020, we heard about theories about a wet market in Wuhan, where the virus originated from a bat. And anyone who suggested that the virus was leaked, accidental or otherwise, from the Wuhan Institute of Virology just up the road was immediately branded a conspiracy theorist. 4 years later, that latter theory seems to be gaining traction. So many questions need to be answered. Why was this lab built? Why did the French government build it? And why in China? Why was the US government involved in the gain of function research at the Wuhan lab? And what is gain of function? So many questions indeed. And joining me now to help shed some light on them is Margret Kopala, policy analyst and contributor at C2C Journal, where she published her latest, A Pandemic Caused by Science. Welcome, Margret. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Nice to be here again, Tanya.
So it was a very interesting piece that you published here at the C2C Journal. And again, like so many Canadians, we're really trying not to think about COVID-19. It was like this dark spot, awful time, bad things happened. But I think,
understandably, yes.
but there has to be a reckoning, meaning that we need to know what actually happened and from whence did this virus come and will it happen again? So let's talk about that. In the early days, and we're talking January, February 2020, we were told that there was a wet market in Wuhan, and that is where this virus came from. That was the source. So where did this virus really originate, and is that theory still valid?
Well, all we're 99.99% certain it originated from the lab itself. It was leaked from the lab. Why do we think that? Because no less a personage than the former CDC director, the Center for Disease Control director, Robert Redfield, has come forth and simply said, we did it. We funded the gain of function science that led to the creation of this virus. Various agencies within the American government, the Department of Defense and the Health Department and what have you, were all involved in it. And it was a huge mistake. We should not be doing this gain of function research. Gain of function, which is a particular protocol by which different viruses, the worst aspects of different viruses, are plugged together to make them one bigger and worse virus.
And I want to get more into the gain of function in a little bit. But from what you're saying, it sounds like the Americans are to blame for this research lab?
Well, nobody is admitting anything. But they are acknowledging, the Americans so far are acknowledging that it was a lab leak from Wuhan. Now, they're not acknowledging or ceding any ground on their own involvement in it, except for the few who are intellectually honest enough to say so, like Robert Redfield. Certainly the Chinese are not saying anything. Xi Zhengli, the scientist who looked after the control and the creation of this particular virus, is saying point blank, no, it was from here or there or from some bat cave, and denies any responsibility whatsoever. And of course, so is Ralph Barrick, who was her counterpart in the U.S. at the University of North Carolina, where he is a highly acknowledged expert on coronaviruses, which of course is what led to the pandemic. So between the two of them, there's little, but what we have are two very two very condemning papers that the two of them published together or in conjunction with others, which effectively lay out the recipe for creating this virus in the first place and give you the whole genetic sequences and tell you how they were going to do it and then how they probably did do it. And so it looks like a fait accompli. The problem is, and the likelihood, I rather should say, the likelihood is that No one will admit any guilt on this. I don't think we'll ever find out. Officialdom will stay as far away as
Hmm.
possible from this. I mean, for them to, for them to admit anything, their mutual culpability, they're locked in a stalemate of mutual culpability on
Okay.
who is really responsible for all of this. I
I got
mean,
to
we're the
pause you
China.
there. We're going to come right back in just a moment.